In the news, Orji Kalu asks court to stop alleged fraud trial. Technology Minister advocates electronic voting system for Nigeria. Across Africa, Ethiopia crisis, UN says 20,000 refugees missing in Tigray. And on the international scene, court considers jailing Navalny, Putin critic. In business, US chamber drives for Kenya-US trade deal. Details shortly. Hello, welcome to TOS TV, your digital first Pan-African network. I am Osaze Sesele, and this is TOS News 360. Former Abia State Governor and current Chief Whip of the Senate, Orji Kalu, on Tuesday asked the Federal High Court, Abuja, to prohibit the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission from retrying him. Kalu wants the court to prohibit the anti-graft agency from retrying him on the same alleged money laundering charges the agency had tried him on, which he was eventually convicted of and sentenced to prison for 12 years. The former Abia governor further asked that his application, if granted, should operate as a stay of proceedings until the determination of the application or until the judge orders otherwise. Justice Ekwo adjourned the hearing of the ex-party motion until February 8. Dr. Ogbonnaya Onu, Minister of Science and Technology, says Nigeria needs to be reformed. Nigeria needs to reform its electoral system by adopting electronic voting to help eliminate errors caused by a human factor in compiling results. This was contained in a statement released by Josephine Ademu, Press and Public Relations Officer of the Ministry, on Tuesday in Abuja. The statement said ONU was positive that if the country reformed its electoral system and adopted e-voting, election malpractices, fraud, and less credible results would be a thing of the past. He said that with this in place, more Nigerians will be willing to participate in the nation's electoral processes. ONU said the nation's democratic processes would experience tremendous improvement with these reforms. He said rather than import the products, they shall be produced in the country to satisfy local demand, and the surplus would be exported. He added that this would help improve the nation's gross domestic product. The Senate on Monday in Abuja made a shocking revelation that Nigeria has only 35,000 practicing medical doctors out of the 72,000 registered personnel to cater for about 200 million population. The Senate, alongside other stakeholders in the health sector, made the revelation on paucity of medical practitioners during a public hearing on bills seeking for establishments of health-related institutions, council, and development fund organized by the Senate Committee on Health. Sponsor of the bill seeking for establishment of Federal University of Health Sciences in Otukpo, Benue State, Senator Abamoro, PDP Benue South, said that the university was very necessary for training of medical doctors. The implication is that only that number is superintending over the health of 200 million Nigerians. This is ridiculous for a country in the 21st century. It is scary. In 2017, JAMB declared that all the children that applied for medicine and other allied programs, they could only admit 20%, meaning that 80% of Nigerians waiting to read medicine were left out because they don't have space. This is what the University of Health Sciences will bridge: create more spaces for Nigerian students to read medicine and other allied personnel in the medical market. I think this bill is very significant. Establishment of the institution is also very important. At the end, Nigerians will benefit from it, and it will improve our health sector, he said. The ongoing National Identification Number (NIN) and Subscriber Identity Module SIM integration exercise has been extended by 8 weeks, with a new deadline of April 6, 2021. This message was conveyed by the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Patami, during the meeting of the Ministerial Task Force on NIN SIM registration, which held on Monday. Patami stated that the extension is to give Nigerians and legal residents more time to integrate their NIN with the SIM. He reiterated the need for Nigerians and legal residents who are yet to register for the NIN to be diligent and take advantage of the extension to enroll for their NIN and link with their SIMs. It will be recalled that the 4th of February 2020 was the initial date of the commencement of the National NIN SIM registration policy. This is your digital first Pan-African network, TOS TV. You are watching TOS News 360, stories from across Africa and the international scene in a moment. Do stay tuned. Thanks for staying tuned. You are still watching TOS TV News 360. Lawyers of Uganda opposition leader Bobby Wine filed a challenge in the Supreme Court on Monday against President Yoweri Museveni's victory in last month's election, claiming the poll was rigged. "We want nullification of the election. We do not want Museveni participating in any future elections," said Medard Segona, one of Wine's lawyers at the Kampala courthouse, where he filed the petition for the runner-up in the January 14 presidential election. On the Constitution, Wine, whose real name is Robert Kyangalai, had 15 days from the declaration of results by the Electoral Commission to challenge the outcome. The Supreme Court must now vote on the petition within 45 days. Losing candidates have sought unsuccessfully in the past to overturn Museveni's wins in court. The veteran leader has won every election since 1996, almost all marred by allegations of irregularities. Wine says he has extensive evidence of vote rigging, including ballot box stuffing, voter intimidation, and the manipulation of results at individual polling stations. Museveni declared the election is the cleanest in Uganda's post-independence history. The run-up to the vote was marred by the worst pre-election bloodshed in years and a sustained crackdown by government critics and Museveni's rivals. As many as 20,000 refugees are missing after two camps in Ethiopia's war-torn Tigray region were destroyed, the United Nations said. The refugees, most of whom are from neighboring Eritrea, fled from the Hitsat and Shimelba shelters that were destroyed in fighting that erupted in Tigray in November. About 3,000 people made it to another camp in Mai Aini, which the United Nations has access to, according to Filippo Grandi, the UN's High Commissioner for Refugees. Many refugees were caught in crossfire, abducted, and forced to return to Eritrea under duress by Eritrean forces, Grandi said. Since fighting began, thousands of people have died and hundreds of thousands have been forced from their homes. There are shortages of food, water, and medicine across the region of more than 5 million people. Whilst it is not in my place to make a more political judgment, I have a responsibility to tell the government to help minimize and eliminate the impact on civilians of this situation, Grandi said. The situation in Tigray is extremely grave and urgent support is necessary to prevent the situation worsening, Grandi said. Our main priority is to gain access to deliver aid and protection. According to the UN report, an estimated 100,000 people are displaced in Tigray and some 60,000 people have taken refuge in Sudan. Libyan Political Dialogue Forum's convention kicked off on Monday in Geneva in the presence of the UN Acting Special Representative of the Secretary General, Stephanie Williams. The meeting, expected to last until February 5th, is supposed to vote on the positions of a three-member presidency council and the Prime Minister of Libya in accordance with the roadmap adopted by the forum in Tunis in mid-November. 21 candidates have been nominated to Prime Minister and 24 to sit on the Presidency Council. Tension has been high since Sunday in Tripoli, where militias loyal to Fayez el-Sarraj have once again rejected the political process initiated by the UN. There are doubts whether those kicked by the UN-selected Libyan Political Dialogue Forum will be accepted by rival regimes in the east and west of the country. On the international front, calls are growing for the release of Myanmar's Aung San Suu Kyi, a day after the army seized power in the Southeast Asian nation. Ms. Suu Kyi, who led the country's elected government, has not been seen since she was detained by the military. Members of the parliament who were confined in the accommodation in the capital have now been told they can leave. The military took power in the early hours of Monday and declared a year-long state of emergency after accusing Ms. Suu Kyi's party of fraud over its recent election win. A National League for Democracy, NLD, demanded her immediate release on Tuesday. It has also called upon the military to accept the results of the November election, which saw the NLD win more than 80% of the votes. There have been no official statements on Ms. Suyi's exact whereabouts since she was detained in pre-dawn raids on Monday, but unnamed sources from within the NLD have said both she and President Win Myint were being held under house arrest. U.S. President Joe Biden has threatened to reinstate sanctions on Myanmar. He said the military should not overrule the will of the people. Along with the U.S., the United Nations, the U.K. and the EU have also condemned the military takeover. Russian police have detained more than 200 people near a Moscow court which is considering whether to jail Putin critic Alexei Navalny. Many riot police, including some on horses, are deployed outside the court. The hearing is to decide whether to turn Mr. Navalny's suspended sentence into an actual prison term. He could face up to 3.5 years in a case that has sparked nationwide protest. He calls the embezzlement conviction fabricated. The arrests were reported by the Russian OVD Info Monitoring Group, which documents police activities, and by the Moscow Public Monitoring Commission, a human rights body. Mr. Navalny's return to Russia on 17th January triggered mass protests in support of him, many of them young Russians who have only ever experienced President Vladimir Putin's rule. Mr. Navalny has been accused of breaking the terms of a 2014 suspended sentence for embezzlement that required him to report regularly to Russian police. His lawyers say the accusation is absurd, as the authorities knew he was recovering in Berlin after a nerve agent attack that nearly killed him. Western diplomats are attending the hearing. The EU has condemned the mass arrest of Navalny supporters, and EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell is to visit Moscow on Thursday for official talks. China's top diplomat called on Tuesday for Beijing and Washington to put relations back on a predictable and constructive path, saying the United States should stop meddling in China's internal affairs like Hong Kong and Tibet. Yang Jiechi, director of the Central Foreign Affairs Commission of the Chinese Communist Party, is the highest-ranking Chinese leader to speak on China-U.S. relations since President Joe Biden took office. Under the Trump administration, U.S. relations with China plunged to their lowest point since the establishment of diplomatic ties in 1979, as both sides clashed over issues ranging from trade and technology to Hong Kong, Taiwan, Xinjiang, and the South China Sea. While reassuring the United States that China has no intention to challenge or replace the U.S. position in the world, Yang stressed that no force can hold back China's development. Yang reasserted that China is prepared to work with the United States to move the relationship forward along the track of no conflict, no confrontation, mutual respect, and win-win cooperation. He suggested that U.S. firms could gain from an estimated $22 trillion worth of exports to China in the coming decade. This is your digital first Pan-African network, TOS TV. You are watching TOS News 360. Still ahead is business and sports. Do stay tuned. Now to business. The United States Chamber of Commerce has urged President Joe Biden to seal a new trade deal with Kenya, which was initiated by his predecessor, Donald Trump. The biggest and most influential U.S. business lobby group wants the ongoing negotiations for a free trade agreement between the two nations concluded fast to pave the way for uptake of business and investment opportunities. The Chamber supports the negotiation of a high-standard free trade agreement with Kenya, which may serve as a model for future trade and investment engagement with Africa, said the business group in a series of recommendations for the new Biden administration. Kenya and the U.S. on July 8 last year formally launched negotiations for the bilateral trade pact. Kenya is keen on signing a new trade deal with Washington before the expiry of the current arrangement under the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, which allows sub-Saharan African countries to export thousands of products to the U.S. without tariffs or quotas until 2025. And in sports, Cricket Australia said it had no choice but to postpone the series because of the health situation in South Africa, where a more contagious variant of the virus has been reported. The teams were due to play 3 tests, subject to biosecure protocols being agreed. Australia had named a 19-man squad, but the schedule had not been confirmed. Cricket Australia interim CEO Nick Hockley said, and I quote, "This decision has not been made lightly, and we're extremely disappointed, especially given the importance of continuing international cricket at this time. Our valued relationship with CSA and our aspirations to compete in the inaugural ICC World Test Championship." South Africa has been the worst hit country in Africa with more than 1.4 million coronavirus cases and 44,000 deaths. It has been affected by a second wave in recent weeks, although President Cyril Ramaphosa said on Monday that the second peak of infections has passed. And that is TOS News 360 on your digital first Pan-African network. For more updates, visit www.tostvnetwork.com. Do follow and like TOS TV Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And remember to subscribe on YouTube. Do stay with us and enjoy more programs on TOS TV Network. I am Musa Isesele. Goodbye for now.